The 29th of April, Rabbi First Pirkei Avos.
Yeah, thank you, Lou. As Lou mentioned, this is Rabbi Shlomo First here, Yeshiva Samanashi here, Zoom here in Shalayim, and we're currently on our way to, we're getting pretty ready for Shavuos, and as part of that, we're learning the Sefer Havos Halevavos Shar Heshbon Hanefesh, which brings me to what I was uh, sending. I sent out just recently to you a copy of a email I got from a question that Rabbi Vidya Miller was asked, the Chonor Baruch, and he answered with the necessity and the importance of learning this exact Shar Hezbollah and Nefesh. So in order to help with our introduction to the subject, I think it's worthwhile to read his response, to read the question that was put to him, and read his response, and we'll take it from there. It's Hashem. So
Oh,
if you look at
got
your
it. I
email,
printed it, so I'm ready to roll.
okay, very good. I just have to. You can start, but I have to go into the other room to either view it on the other computer or to download it and bring it into the other room. But you begin.
Okay, so Rabbi Victor Miller on training yourself to think. Um, Question: What's the best program for training myself to think Torah thoughts? Answer: That's a good question. And one answer is if you'll take the Sefer Havos Halevavos, the part called Shar Heshbon Hanefesh, a certain section, you'll see there that he gives us 30 subjects to think on. Most people don't know about this. 30 subjects to think on and practice on them. Now, some of them at first might seem.
All right. So to begin with, so you see here that the subject that the let's put it this way, the question that Rabbi Miller was asked was well, what's the best program for training a person to think? So the question is already assuming that there's a necessity of number one, thinking. There's a necessity of thinking, right? That itself is something to try and understand. Meaning, most people, I'm not sure. There's probably always something going on through their minds. I mean, unless they're sleeping, and even when they're sleeping, they might be dreaming, right? So there must be something going on in their minds. Now, it's an amazing thing. One human being can't really um, know what another human being is experiencing, neither in emotions, in physical feelings, and in mental activities. I mean, there might be ways to measure mental activity, but to pinpoint that this activity is this particular thought. Like for example, if you want to go into the realm of scientific analysis, does a Chinaman's brain function different than an Italian's brain, right? How does the language of a person affect their mental brain functioning? So all these things. So you can probably pick up certain variances, right? And there's certain activity taking place, but the exact specific activity, meaning, when one person thinks of a red apple, right, will that always elicit the same brainwave activity as another person thinking about a red apple, right? Let's say people are all looking at the same picture of a red apple. Are they all going to be responding in terms of brainwave activity in the same particular way, right? Like for
Right.
example, you have take for example physical reflexes. I remember when I was a child, the doctor would take his little hammer and bang me on the knee, and the foot would jerk upward, right? It's
Right.
testing your reflexes, right? So you suppose that's a fairly uniform, universal response. You bang on that part of the knee, the foot's supposed to go up. If it doesn't go up, the doctor's going to start checking into other things, right? Because that's a universal response. So when a person's going to be looking at a red apple, a picture of a red apple, is he universally going to have the same brainwave activity? I would probably venture to say no. If you could prove yes, you'd probably win a Nobel Prize or something like that. Um, but when you're thinking about that, a person is in fact dealing with brainwave activity. I mean, there is something going on is in that physical organ called the brain, and it's probably connected to what we call mental activity. And then there's different types of mental activities. There's a person he's imagining things, fantasizing things. He's having memories of things. He's being creative to do things. He's memorizing things. All kinds of there's visual memory, audio memory, all these different experiences that a person has so that could be lumped up into what we call thought process, right? So there's such a thing as thinking, such a thing as thinking. And now there's another point that's being made here that you have to train yourself to think, right? There's meaning if a person's thinking, right? So there's also a certain training that a person has to do. Meaning, for example, meaning if you probably know on your own that take for example. Uh, Opera singers or any singers. They're trained to use their lung capacity and to use their voice, and they are trained and have specific ways of breathing that will enable and facilitate their ability to sing or to perform. Right. Also, you have the same thing. Havdalah is a shofar. You know that if you're going to be blowing a shofar, part of understanding and being successful in blowing the shofar is having control over your breathing, right? So most people are breathing, right? But very few have actually trained to breathe, right?
Right?
Bicycle, for example, like most people ride a bicycle, but they have to be trained to ride a bicycle. Most people drive, you definitely have to be trained to drive. You have a jet fighter plane, right? So you have to be trained to use that. So in the same way, which is a chiddush, you have to train yourself to think. How do you like that? You have to train yourself to think. Otherwise, like, just as a person who never was trained to breathe, so he's not using his breathing to the to in a professional capacity. Let's put it that way. People go throughout life, they never had any inkling about a diaphragm, pulling it down, pulling it up, lung capacity, holding it in, holding it out. They never learn into these things because it was never important for them. But if a person becomes an athlete, a person becomes an opera star, a person lahavdil becomes a person who blows a shofar, it's very crucial to the success of their endeavors that they train themselves to breathe, right?
Right.
So we're learning now that it's important to train yourself to think because if you want to be successful as a Jew, right, if you want to have a successful visit into the physical universe, right, part of that success is to train yourself to think. So just like all people breathe, well, mammals breathe, but very few have had training because very few are professionally involved to such an extent that they need to be professionally involved in learning how to use their breathing professionally. But nevertheless, when it comes to being a Jew, for the sake and the success and the survival of the neshama, it is imperative that a person trains himself to think. So that's what we're starting off here with. That's the beginning here. Okay, we can continue if you like. Yeah.
Okay. Um, Now, some of them at first might seem boring, not interesting at all, but start concentrating on them, and after a while, you'll see that it's not so simple and you'll gain a great deal. For
Okay, so
instance,
he's referring to the 30 different Heshbon and Nefesh, right? The 30 different ways of thinking. And some of them, as he said, look very obvious and very mundane and not much there. But again, remember the Sefer Havos Halevavos was written over 1,000 years ago, right? It wasn't somebody like Dale Carnegie that come up with some nice ideas how to win friends and influence. What was it? Win friends and influence. I forgot what it was called anyway.
People, people.
People, people. So you have friends and you have people, right? Most people most people are not your friends. So you you want you want to appeal to your friends and also to people, right? So he came up with some nice, very practical ideas, and he achieved his purposes. But we're talking about um, trying to be successful with your neshama. So at first things may look very basic and obvious, just like if you look into his little Sefer Lahavdil, things will probably look very basic and obvious, but he said, look, you got to concentrate on these things. If you concentrate on these things, right, you'll be more successful. So, and it apparently worked. So also, he's warning you right now that don't think that if some of these things seem to be mundane or overly simplified, there's not too much to be gained from it. No, even though it might be simple, it's going to be very profitable for you. So yeah, let's go continue on.
Okay, let's see. For instance, one of the very first ones is to think how lucky you are that Hashem created you out of nothing. You could have been a tree. Just think of that Heshbon. You could have been a tree. The same materials that go into a tree make a human being. You could have been a cat, and Hashem made you into a human being.
Right. So what's the point? We'll get it when we start learning the actual um, Heshbonis themselves, individual. We go into more detail here, but the beginning of what he's trying to have you explore here is don't take it for granted that what you are is what you are, right? And the fact that you are is what you are, meaning at the pinnacle of the universe, you should take that very seriously and realize that because of that, you have a great debt of gratitude to Kodesh Baruch Hu because of it. Right? So a person who never realized and thought about the benefit that has been bestowed upon him by being what he is, so he'll never come to a true Hakaras Tov. He'll never come to realize his true gratitude because of it. So that's why it's very, very important to think about this very basic um, point. Okay.
Um, Now, start thinking about that. At first, you'll say, it's boring. There is nothing to think about. Uh, my kamashma lan.
By Kamash Malan, what's the Chiddush in this? Meaning, what's the Chiddush that again, the Sefer was written over 1,000 years ago. He was a very deep and profound and tremendously knowledgeable author, and he was talking to other people who were very knowledgeable as well, and he was trying to guide them. So whatever guidance he gave to his generation of over 1,000 years ago, he's certainly giving guidance to us who are much lower levels than the generations of 1,000 years ago.
No, think about it. Imagine yourself walking in the street, stopping at the gutter, licking up some muddy water, attempting to find something in the garbage cans. And now, all of a sudden, you become you. Oh, wow. What a difference that is. That's one of the cheshbonos.
For example, just relating to this personally, a year or two ago, I started thinking, you see all these cats around and the birds. I started thinking, where did they get their water from? like, here in Eretz Israel, we're not, it's not like you're in Maine or in Pennsylvania where you have a lot of lakes and rivers and streams and all that, right? Your average wildlife in Pennsylvania or Maine or someplace like that, there are lots of water all over the place. But a place like Yerushalayim, like you don't see a body of water around here. There's no bodies of water. Okay, in the winter time, so there's the rainfall. But now, for example, we're entering the summertime. Between now and Sukkot, there may not be a drop of rain. Where do all these animals get their water? You don't see them walking, standing online in the McCullough cats and buying bottled water for themselves and their families, right?
Interestingly, that even people do leave food out for cats, but I've never seen anybody leave water out for them.
Interesting. Yeah, you have the classic leaving the milk out for the cat, but even that, so how much milk are they going to give a cat after all? But you're right. I remember when dogs you give them. I remember we had a dog in the house when I grew up. You have to give him water too. You have his one thing for water, one thing for the food, but you have to give him water. Otherwise, or they learn pretty quick. They go to the toilet and then they drink the water out of the toilet. It's
Right.
you know, doesn't bother them. They're very happy with it, yeah, assuming that it's been flushed. But they're very happy about drinking the water out of the toilet. They're not, they don't have any stigma about drinking water out of a toilet. And believe me, if Chas v'sholom, we had it came to a situation, a person would do it too if they had to. Remember, I remember in the 1960s during the Cold War, we'd always get these different bulletins about what to do, if there's nuclear attacks and things like this. So I said one way to survive nuclear blasts is if there's no more water around, so get the water from your toilet tank. It's probably you have two. I think they're about 5 liters of water in your toilet tank. So under normal circumstances, a person wouldn't dare drink such water. But if he's desperate, so there it is. So yeah. So I was thinking, where do the cats and the birds get all the water? They're running around. Birds are active. They're active all day long. And so I started looking around and doing some research. So one answer I got is that the birds get their water from insects because they eat the insects, and the insects have moisture, so they get their water intake, the moisture from eating the insects. Okay, I guess you could do that, and then there's a lot of, if you notice, there's a lot of dew around. In the mornings, even in the summertime, there's dew, on the cars, and it's dripping, dripping off the roofs. So the wildlife, they learn to get what they need, but it's not easy. Not easy just to lick up a couple of. Um, uh, Imagine going to a tree every morning and licking the dew off the leaves. You know. So. Baruch Hashem, we're not cats, Baruch Hashem. We can go to the McCullough and get bottled water if we want. All kinds. How many different kinds of bottled water you can get? And you have to be thankful for that. So yeah, there's when you start looking into the number one thing is you have to realize the basic things that Kadosh Baruch Hu's done for you, right? So most basically, He's made you what you are, right? Okay.
Okay. Now, little by little, you think from one thing after another, and then you come to the 30th Heshbon. The 30th Heshbon is that there is nobody in the world except you and Hashem. So think about that. All your life, you're among strangers. Even your wife and your children, they're strangers. Someday, you'll say goodbye to everybody. You'll be left alone in this world, and you'll come to the next world. You're a ger be'eretz nachria, a stranger in a strange land. They'll say, "What are you doing here?" You say, "I'm looking for Hashem." You'll knock on the door in the next world, you're all alone. And so you have to get accustomed to this world. I'm sorry, you have to accustom in this world to being in the company of Hashem. And therefore, you should get into practice while you're still alive. Ha tzana lechat im o
Elokecha, meaning,
elokecha,
right.
to walk securely with Hashem.
Right? Secretly.
I'm sorry, secretly, to walk secretly with Hashem.
Right. This is and this okay. This is the 30th. So you've gone. He's jumped from the beginning to the very end, and so this is this is the crescendo of what he's trying to teach us. That you have to realize that as comfortable and secure as you may feel yourself in this world now, but it's all going to disappear, right? It's all going to disappear, and what you are, in essence, what you are, meaning your neshama, whatever that happens to be, however you happen to relate to that, that neshama is going to finally, as they say, meet its maker, and it'll be completely alone and without any support except for itself and its Torah and Maisim Toivim, which it achieved in this physical world. That I know there's a muscle which they use to try and explain the realities of the transfer from this world to the next world. So it's like a person entering a tremendous infinite palace with one door after the next, one door after the next, and it's just a palace filled with doors. And each door a person opens up and it's empty. And it's empty, and it's empty. It goes from one door to the next, another door to the next, another door to the next, and one door after the next is empty, not leading anywhere, not leading anywhere. And a person, right, if his life was filled with mundane, unimportant activities, right? So all those are all the empty doors that he opens in the world to come because there was a door, there was an opportunity, and what did he put away for that door to be finally eventually opened? But if he spent his time learning Torah, doing good deeds, fulfilling the mitzvahs, improving himself, being kind to other people, then he's used those opportunities of this life, and the doors he opens up are filled with benefits that he'll be able to appreciate and make use of in the spiritual world to come. But it's only going to be in terms of how close he developed a relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu in this world. This world is a place where, even though we're put in a place where we're rooted in the physical, we have physical needs and necessities to fulfill. Nevertheless, the Kadosh Baruch Hu wants us to develop a relationship with Him, a spiritual relationship, a spiritual attitude, and that's going to be the final sum total of what a person really is. Meaning, what a person really is in sum total his relationship that he achieved with the Kadosh Baruch Hu in this world. And according to that, he'll be correspondingly rewarded with the relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu in the next world. Okay.
Okay. What's the secretly? Why does it have to be secretly?
Oh, well, because it's a pasuk in Micha. Actually, to tell you the truth, okay, I'll tell you what. Hold on to that question till we finish this English reading, and then maybe we'll go into the pasuk itself. Okay.
Okay, I underlined it.
Good.
All right,
Okay.
I'm sorry, did you ever practice walking secretly with Hashem? Try it. If you're still young, you might listen to me. The older one is a wise guy. He won't listen, but the young ones might listen to me. As you're walking in the street, say, I'm going to walk from here to the next telegraph pole, and I'm going to think only about you, Hashem. Try it. It's not so easy. Think about Hashem quietly. Nobody knows about it. You're a great man. When you think about important things, you become important. When you think about important things, you become important. At, at that moment, as you're walking from here to the telegraph pole, hold on a second. Hello? Hello? Yes. Do you speak English? Hold on a second. I'll see if I can get some help. Oops, oh, never mind. Sorry, it's probably the health service. They call me and then they don't speak English, so I stuck.
No, Lou, you have to understand something. They do speak English, but they're embarrassed to talk because anyone who's working for the health service, they have a high school diploma, right?
Right,
And the second language in this country is English. You must pass English tests and courses to get a high school diploma,
right,
right? So they do speak English, right? They may be embarrassed to talk it because maybe they failed all their, or maybe they only got 67s on all their tests, right?
right,
But don't be afraid. Don't be embarrassed to confront them and say, "Listen, I know you talk English there, right? Right? If you're working for the health department, you have a high school diploma, right? And I want to talk to someone who speaks English. So don't be put off by the fact that they're talking Hebrew, okay?
right, right. Well, in this case, I said, do you speak English? And she said no and hung up. She didn't give me a
Okay.
chance to make any kind of confrontation.
Okay, well, tell her you want to talk to someone who speaks English.
Yeah, sometimes they call back. Sometimes
Yeah,
they'll
yeah.
find somebody who speaks English and call back.
Yeah, the offices are full of, like I told you, they all know English. They all speak English.
Right,
Mm.
right. I know the doctors do for sure.
Of course, what are you talking about? A doctor, you can't talk English. Yeah, even the Russian doctors talk English.
Right. Okay, so let's see. I was saying at that moment, as you're walking from here to the telegraph pole, you're as tall as the telegraph pole. You're taller than anybody else because you have the most important thoughts on your mind. And so, I'm sorry, Hamashlim, Hashloshim, um, the three parables.
One second. Ooh, you know what? I see that. I don't want to. Can you? I just checked. I had a minute where you wanted. Lauren sent me. He asked me a link for this year. I guess he's back from Kutzlauritz. Can you send Lauren the link for this year?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Yeah, I included him in the email I sent out.
Okay.
Let's see. A newsletter has it here. Here's a newsletter. Okay. What is his email address?
Um, okay, one second. I can two. One second, one second. You know what I'm gonna do? Let me copy it.
I got it. I got it. Learn Schachter. Learn
Oh, oh,
Schachter. I got it. Learn Schachter. I got
oh,
it.
yeah, that's it. That's it. Right.
Okay, I sent it. Okay, yeah. He sent me an email also. I just responded to his email. All right, we're good. So what is this Hamashlim Hashloshim? The third mushal, third parable?
Okay, 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. Ay, 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 ay. Yeah. So right. Okay, Snei Aleches, right? Um, okay, you're a great man. Okay, right. And so Hamshalim ha Shalo ha Hamshalim Hamash no, it's and so Hamaslim Hashloshim, Hamaslim, the one who finishes Hashlosh, the one who finishes the 30 of them, Hamashlim, the one who completes Hashloshim, the 30.
Ah, the one who completes the 30, if you went through all the 30 Heshbonos, and finally you're working on a last one that Hashem and you are together alone in the world, Ger Anochi Be'eretz, I am a stranger in this world. Hashem, I'm all by myself. You're the only one who can help me. The money I have in the bank won't help me. My rich father-in-law won't help me. Nobody will help me. You're the only one who can help me. Ger Anochi Be'eretz. Uh, and when you learn that you are already making progress in this world, and when you learn that you are already making progress in this world. So, therefore, that's one place where you can find food for thought. It's not the only place, however.
So, okay,
April
just
1993.
so it was just Baruch Hashem. I just got this I just got this email 2 or 3 days ago, maybe before Shabbos, I forgot, and it crossed my mind that it was very um, timely that was Hashgacha Pratis, and we're about to start the 30 Cheshbonis, and so it helps also put in a certain perspective. And as you can see, let's see, Eliezer is joining us. Okay, Baruch Hashem. Oh,
Eliezer, hello.
Shalom
Hello,
Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem. Chodesh Tov. Good to see you. I see you're back, Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Hashem. Chodesh Tov to
Very
all.
good. Okay, very good. Where you gonna be for Shavuos? You'll be here or there?
I should be here for Shavuos. Near Hashem, I
Okay.
will be in the week before Shavuos.
Oh, very good, Baruch Hashem. Very nice. Good to hear. Very good. Okay. So yeah, we were. If you probably got the email I sent out a little about an hour or so ago, the one from Rabbi Miller, he's
Right.
discussing the Heshbon and Nefesh. Why are we doing? Because we started this past week the Havos of Halevavos in this Shar Heshbon and Nefesh, and so it's also I found it very timely that they sent that out because it also helps put in perspective the this Shar Cheshbon and Nefesh, which that's what we're going to be working on now till the time we finish it. Um, the Shar Cheshbon and Nefesh is unique in my experience, my limited experience, that first of all, coming from such a primal source as the Sefer Havos Halevavos, the Sefer was written almost 1,000 years ago, one of the Rishonim, or early Rishonim. So it's completely, absolutely authoritative, and it forms the basis of a lot of Jewish hashkafa, ethics, and philosophy. Um, and the 30 Heshbonis, as you can see from this Rabbi, we just happened to finish it. I'm sorry I didn't see your email earlier. I would have got you in earlier, but I just noticed it a few minutes ago.
No
But
problem.
yeah, right. But the point that Rabbi Miller is making here with the question that Rabbi Miller was asked was, what's a good program to enable a person to learn how to think? So, so as we said at the very beginning, that the in the question itself, there are two chedushim in the question. First of all, that a person should be trained to think, and also that he is there is a program to learn how to think, and there are proper ways to learn how to think. Just like if a person wants to uh, train for any particular activity, and again, a person can do it in an amateur way, a person can do it in a professional way, whatever they're going to be doing. So there's always going to be a certain amount of training, right? Even a person wants to ride a bicycle, you teach a child to ride a bicycle. So a certain amount of training he has to go through. A person wants to swim. A certain amount of training he has to become to swim. Now, if a person simply wants to learn how to swim, that's one thing. If he wants to become a swimmer on the high school team, he has to put in more training. He wants to go for Olympic medal, right? It's put into more training, right? And then you go from in certain sports, you go into professionals, right? Just golf. Person plays golf, but he's not, he's an amateur golfer, professional golfers. So it's all a matter of the training and practice and the time and effort they put into what they're doing. So for us, Heshbon and Nefesh, right, what a person should do in terms of evaluating what he's thinking about, what he's using his mind to focus on. Meaning, and that's going to be very important, um, because what a person uses his mind to focus on and to think about, that is going to be the sum total of what he's going to take with him to the next world. Meaning, aside from the mitzvahs, the Torah, the Gimel Chasadim that a person takes with him to the next world, right, for reward, right, all those things accumulate for reward in the next world. But what he is in the next, what is he going to be in the next world, right? The person is going to be in the next world what he thinks about, what his thoughts. Be, the I mentioned this once or twice before. There's a famous Maisa from the Alta from Kelm. Alta from Kelm was one of the three primary Talmidim of Rav Yisrael Salanter, and he became great in on his own. And he had Talmidim in Kelm, and he would walk from place to place. And the Kelm, as you may know, was a small village in Poland, situated on two sides of a main roadway. So it was very well known that people would walk in the roadway. So it was actually, to tell you the truth, in earlier times, this was, I'm talking about at least going back 100 years, on Shabbos, the Jewish people of the town would walk along the road on Shabbos, and one side of the road was for women, and the other side of the road was for men, right? And that was a custom that existed and was kept up until maybe the 1920s or something ago, and then things became, even in Kelm, things were breaking down, and so even that became obsolete um, fence against mixing of the sexes. So the altar would be walking at one point along the road, and he saw from afar, they were approaching them, was a funeral for one of the Polish peasants of the town. So there's this funeral approaching them, and the group of the Polish people and the hearse and the coffin coming his way. So as it got closer and closer, so he finally, when it got to a certain point, he was approaching. So he stopped out of respect of the funeral. You know, you just don't walk by ignoring such a thing. You know, you stop. It's derech eretz. Funeral's passing by, so you should show your respects. And even though the Polish peasant, I mean, you can imagine what kind of a life did a Polish peasant live? I mean, so-called self. Well, what did he know? What did he do? What did he accomplish? So after the funeral passed by, so the altar stood there and was waiting and waiting and continued waiting until the Talmidim said, you know, the funeral is past. Um, Out of derech eretz, deference to the funeral, I understand you stopped, but now it's completely past. It's over the horizon. It's past the curve in the road. And so why are you now not continuing your walk? The time of the Alta from Kem was obviously very valuable. Any Talmud of Yoviso Salanter obviously would have known and used his time absolutely, completely without any waste. And so the Alter remarked as follows. He said, he's been trying to put himself in the situation of the neshama of that Polish peasant. That the Polish peasant, he lived his whole life in a world of sheker, olam sheker. And now that neshama is entering olam ha'emes. He's trying to feel and experience in some small way the shock and amazement that that Polish neshama is going through when it now enters Olam Emes. Because why? What's that's basically the end of the story. I'll give a little explanation that the Polish peasant, his life was made of potatoes and onions, and maybe if he enjoyed it a little bit better with some sour cream on top, right? Right. So what did he do in life? What did he gain in life? What was he thinking about all the time? The next bowl of potatoes with sour cream? So what is that going to benefit him in any way in the Olam Emes? Meaning what is he going to relate to in Olam Emes? Right? There's nothing for him to relate to in Olam Emes. So, likewise, that's an extreme example. Unfortunately, it's a very common extreme example. But for us, we also have to take this to heart as well. We also have to realize that our opportunities to prepare for our journey to Olam Emes, you have to have certain things to relate to. You've got to be able to have certain points of reference. Where are your points of reference in this world that you're going to be able to take with you to the next world and be able to function as an entity in the next world? Meaning a person who learns Torah is gonna get reward for that. Person does mitzvah is gonna get a reward for that. He does Gimel Sasanim, he's gonna get a reward for that. But what is his essence? What is he going to be there? Right? That's a whole different dimension of how we need to relate and how we have to function in our lives. And economy, because it's a mitzvah to learn Torah, we learn Torah. It's a mitzvah to do something, we do that and that and that and that and that and that. We do it for reward. We do it l'shem shemayim. We whatever we do it, and Hashem's going to balance all the things, the mitzvahs and averas and everything that takes place. Hashem's going to work out the exact din al pi emes lamitoy, and He's going to judge us equally and fairly, absolutely, without doubt. But again, what we're going to be when we leave this world and enter the next world, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't have anything to do with that. That's our job.
Yep.
What we're going to be to receive those rewards is our job. And that's what these 30 Heshbon and Hanefesh are designed to create in us reference points in this world that we can relate to this world in the proper ways that we'll be able to take those reference points and relive them, revive them, renew them in the next world, in the spiritual world. Because now it's simply we're in a physical world and we have to use this physical world to create these reference points. And by using these thought patterns, which we're going to be training ourselves, that's what this Rabbi Miller we've been discussing, training, the training of thought. right? Training of thought, just like I said at the very beginning. You want to become, right, a opera star, right? So you can't breathe like regular people, right? You have to be trained how to breathe, right? I'll give you, I think I mentioned this at least once before. I once met somebody who was a professional wine taster, professional wine taster. So he met somebody. He was on an airplane or something. He was got to talking to somebody, and the person said, "Oh, what do you do?" "I'm a professional wine tester." I said, "Oh, that's nice. Very good. And what, tell me, you make how much you make?" He makes, I don't know, makes $300,000 a year. So, "Ooh, that's a nice salary. $300,000. That's pretty good." So he said, "What do I have to do? I'll go online and take an online course. Wine tasting course. You know." 60 $60 and you get your certificate professional wine taster, right? So the wine taster looked at him and laughed at him. He said, I'm I'm a fifth generation wine tester. You have to realize from the time I was a baby, my parents never gave me anything too hot. They never gave me anything too cold. They never gave me anything spicy, right? They never gave me anything salty. From the time I've been a baby, my tongue has been preserved to be able to have all its taste buds preserved without destruction, right? Not simple, not just
Yep.
taking a course, not just taking a course. So also, you want to be an opera star, so you have to be able to be trained to breathe. I said also, lahavdil, you want to blow a shofar, you also have to train yourself a little bit to breathe, right? But a person who's never active in these things, he's never trained himself to breathe. They breathe, right? They breathe in, they breathe out, and they never gave 2 minutes thought in their whole life about breathing. It's automatic. Also thinking, right? Who gives thought to training themselves to think? Again, a person can study certain things, they know certain things, but that's not training yourself to think. These things which we're going to be discussing, and I'm working on getting the document together because I'm going to probably, I'm not sure, I haven't decided if I'm going to send you maybe the first 10 Heshbonus, or maybe I'll send you all 30, but I have to break it up. It's a long document, so it's a document of maybe I forgot how many, more than 10 pages for sure. So I have to decide how to break it up. Um, so we'll be going through it and hopefully we'll be understanding it and we can add to it and uh, amplify on it and elaborate upon it. But these things are giving our reference points, which we're trying to create to what we're actually going to be in the next world. So that's what we're doing now. And so I guess I tell you, Lou, maybe you could change the topic heading for this year and maybe just say it's Havos Halevavos Shar Heshbon Hanefesh instead of Pirkei Avos.
It's a topic, Havos, Halevavos, Heshbon Hanefesh.
Very good. Yeah, that'll help focus people's attention if they want to tune in.
Okay, so I'll create a new tab on the website,
Perfect. Perfect.
and we'll be doing this for a while to make it worth it.
Eh, yeah, I think so. Look, each one is 30, each one is 30. There are 30 of them, right? And then there are a couple of prucking after that where he sums up things and he says tremendous chedushim. Tremendous chedushim. And I expect we'll be on it for a while.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good.
Okay, very good. And if you want, we ran out of time for right now. About the Tznei Aleches, yeah, that pasuk in Micha. If we want, maybe I can might pay to spend time doing that as well. Maybe I'll tell you what, I'm gonna maybe, because if I spend more time, I don't know if I'll have so much time to work out that document today in its entirety. So maybe if we need a short shir tomorrow on that pasuk in Micha, it's Ne'elekasim Elokecha, very important um, uh, attitude, very important attitude. So we'll see about that. Okay, very good. So stay tuned and we'll start the Mr. Berkshire shortly.
All right,
Again,
sounds good. Sounds like a good plan.
good to see you back, Elias. It's good to see you back, and glad to have you join us again. And we'll be taking a short break and start the Mr. Berkshire learning Hilchas Svirsa Omer right now.
Okay.
Chelik Hey in the Mr. Berkshire. Good. Okay, see you all soon.
Okay.